For 18 years, I flew their planes, missed birthdays, holidays, watched sunrises from 30,000 feet so passengers could make it home. I was the first in, last out, and proud of what I did. Then one day, no warning, no gratitude, they let me go just like that. At first I felt gutted, replaced, forgotten. But what they didn't realize was that I knew their system inside and out. The schedules, the logistics, the shortcuts they took when no one was watching. And when I walked away, I didn't just leave my uniform behind, I took everything I knew with me. Now, flights are getting canceled, delays are piling up, and the company that once saw me as disposable is scrambling. You won't believe what happened behind the scenes or how it all came crashing down without me. My name is Jack Whitaker. For 20 years, I didn't just fly planes. I lived aviation. I trained new hires, rewrote safety protocols, stayed late running simulations long after others clocked out. I wore that uniform with pride until the morning they told me not to bother putting it on ever again. It was 7:42 a.m. when I walked into Dylan Granger's office. He didn't look up, just waved me to the chair across from his desk, fingers tapping away at some spreadsheet like I was another line item. "Thanks for coming in early," he said at last. "You know it's never good when they start with that." Dylan was the new operations director, mid-30s, fresh haircut, framed MBA on the wall behind him. The guy had never flown anything more complex than a Tesla, but now he ran the show. He folded his hands, leaned forward, and got straight to the point. "Jack, due to restructuring and shifting cost models, your position has been eliminated." I blinked once, that's it. No argument. Just glanced out the floor-to-ceiling window behind him. One of our 737s was taxiing out for takeoff, Flight 1817 to Boston. The captain? Greg Turner, a pilot I trained. Signed off on his final check ride myself. Dylan slid a manila envelope across the desk like a restaurant bill. Severance, benefits, final payroll, instructions for returning equipment. I didn't touch it, just nodded. "Anything else?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "No, HR will walk you through the exit process. We'll need your badge and uniform today." I stood, smoothed out my jacket, a habit that felt like muscle memory. Didn't say a word, just walked to the door. "Oh, and Captain Whitaker," he called behind me. "We'll need your pilot's wings, too." I didn't even glance back. Ellen from HR was already waiting in the hallway, clipboard in hand, expression unreadable, like this was just another task on her list. Like the past 20 years I'd given this airline meant nothing more than a checkbox. As we walked toward the elevators, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Mason Clark. Is it true I didn't answer? What was there to say? That 2 decades of loyalty ended with a 3-minute meeting and a severance envelope. That the guy calling the shots now thinks pilots are just spreadsheet clutter. That he never looked me in the eye while cutting me loose even though I trained half the captains on his roster. I kept walking, didn't break stride. The locker room was almost empty, just the low hiss of vents and the steady thud of my boots against tile. I changed in silence, hung my uniform, carefully, folded my pants with crisp edges just like I learned in the Air Force. Old habits survive chaos. Muscle memory is stubborn like that. I set my captain's hat on top of the folded shirt. That's when I saw it, a photo taped to the inside of the locker. My first crew at Hawthorne Air, 5 grinning rookies and a dented trainer on a snow-dusted ramp. Most of them are captains now. One flies long haul across oceans. All of them started here, sweating through sims, learning from me. I stared at that photo too long. Maybe I was trying to memorize a version of myself before today. When I finally stepped out, Ellen was by the badge scanner. I handed over everything, ID, parking pass, gate card, and yes, even my wings. She took them like they were just objects. "Anything else?" I asked. She hesitated, then said, "We'll be in touch about paperwork." I nodded, walked out like a man attending his own goodbye. My car felt like a freezer. Or maybe it was just me. Maybe it was knowing I had nowhere to be. No gate assignment, no safety briefing. No headset check or pre-flight checklist. Just open hours and a dashboard clock ticking louder than usual. Halfway home, another buzz. Elena Brooks. Come to the pilot lounge, 3rd floor. It can't end like this. I should have gone home. Cracked. A beer. Told myself it didn't matter. But something about that message made me turn the wheel back toward the terminal. By the time I reached the lounge, 8 of them were already there. Elena, Mason, Daniel, Thomas, others I'd trained, flown with, trusted, every one of them still in uniform, every one of them silent. No small talk, no greetings, just a kind of stillness that told me this wasn't a casual meeting. Elena had said it was urgent. I had no idea how right she was. Thomas stepped forward first. We heard what happened to Cap, he said, and we're not okay with it. I looked around the room, at my people, former students, crew I once signed off on. They didn't look angry, they looked ready. I turned to Elena. What's this really about? I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she unlocked her iPad and tapped the screen. You need to see this. A maintenance report appeared. Flight 3462, Phoenix to Denver, 4 days ago. On paper, it looked minor. Altimeter glitch on takeoff, resolved mid-air. But I'd seen failures like that before. If the sensor goes out in bad weather or during landing, it's not just a hiccup. It's a disaster. What's the aircraft status now? I asked. Cleared for service, she replied. Filed as non-critical. My stomach turned. That's not a minor issue, I said. That's a Category B, should have grounded it. Exactly, Elena said. And this was the original report. She swiped to a second screen. Same flight, same date. But the new version? Severity downgraded. Signed by Ross Harding, a tech who left the company last month. So who signed it? She asked. I didn't know. But I knew what that meant. Reports were being altered, logs manipulated. I tried pulling more files, Elena said, but the system booted me, said I didn't have clearance. I pulled my phone, logged into Hawthorne's maintenance system. 2 screens in, it froze. Access denied. They were cleaning house, scrubbing trails. What's going on, Jack? Daniel asked. I looked up. They're hiding something, I said. And it didn't start today. Thomas leaned forward. You think Dylan's involved? I didn't answer. Because the truth was, I did. And that answer carried weight. The air in the room shifted. No one moved. This wasn't about my job anymore. It wasn't even about what they'd done to me. This was bigger, riskier. Someone was tampering with flight safety logs. And the deeper we looked, the more it felt like we weren't just uncovering negligence, we were uncovering a cover-up. And it might already be too late. Elena spoke softly, like she didn't want the walls to hear her. They're using names of ex-employees on the reports, she said. I felt my stomach drop. That meant someone was falsifying compliance, and not just with company policies, with the FAA. Mason ran a hand through his hair. This isn't just shady, Jack. It's dangerous. Someone's going to get hurt. I looked at each of them, trusted pilots, once my students. They didn't look afraid. They looked like they were waiting for me to make a call. That's when my phone rang. I didn't expect to see the name Richard Kane, founder of Hawthorne Air, a pilot's pilot, the guy who used to shake every hand after training flights. I hadn't heard his voice in over 2 years. Jack, he said, low and deliberate. Just got off the phone with someone from the board. They said you agreed to retire. I let out a breath. That's not exactly what happened. He grunted. Didn't think so. You trained half the damn flight deck out there. You don't walk away without a fight. There was a pause. Listen, he continued, voice even lower. I've got a friend over at Apex Jet, Vincent Wang, the CEO. He's building a training division, and I told him about you. He's interested. You up for a talk? I glanced around the room. Mason was pacing. Elena still had her iPad in hand, face pale. Something in me knew. This wasn't over. Thanks, Richard, I said. But I can't walk away. Not yet. He didn't argue. Figured as much. I'll send the intro anyway. Just promise me one thing. Don't sign anything from Hawthorne, not till Monday. The line went dead and I slowly lowered the phone. That's when the door creaked open again. Nick from maintenance stepped in, still in his grease-covered coveralls. You got a sec? He asked, eyes scanning the room. I nodded. He sat down, nervous. I heard about your exit, but that's not why I'm here. He dug into his pocket and slid something across the table. A flash drive. Flight 3462, that altimeter error? The full log was there 2 days ago. Now, it's gone, not updated, deleted, entire block wiped clean. Dylan brought in new software. Last quarter, admin override. I stared at the drive. Why bring this to me? I asked. Nick's voice didn't waver. Because you're the only one who won't pretend this didn't happen. I slipped the drive into my jacket and stepped outside. The sky over Chicago had turned the color of cold steel. A storm was coming, and I was done playing it safe. A storm was coming, not just in the skies, but inside the company, too. I looked at Nick and asked, Did you back up the last data pull? He nodded. Encrypted, off-site. I don't trust their servers anymore. Smart kid. I slipped the flash drive into my coat pocket, feeling the weight of it like it meant something more. And it did. This wasn't about payroll anymore. It wasn't even about me. This was about who gets to decide what safety means, and who ends up paying. When that line gets crossed, sleep didn't come easy that night. Not because I was mad. That part had burned out. What kept me staring at the ceiling was the thought that if we didn't act fast and smart, we wouldn't just lose our jobs. We'd lose our credibility, maybe more. By morning, I had a plan. Quiet, straightforward. Step 1. Protect the evidence. I met Elena at a quiet cafe near the airport. No security cameras, no company eyes, just 2 laptops and a shared purpose. She had already cloned the altered maintenance reports onto a secure drive. Nick's data matched up. The same pattern. Again and again. Safety issues minimized. Digital records wiped clean. But if we were going to prove this, we needed more. You still have access to the sim room? I asked. Elena looked up. You want to record something? I nodded. That room saw a lot of informal training reviews led by Dylan. If he slipped up, we'd have it. That afternoon, we entered the simulator building, empty, no training on the schedule. Elena set a discreet camera at the instructor's terminal aimed at the front of the room. If he talks, we'll catch it, she said. Then we moved to step 2, outside pressure. I called Rachel Devine, old friend, investigative journalist, the one who cracked the Midwest air cargo scandal. She didn't need much convincing. You're telling me Hawthorne's faking FAA records? She asked. I'm telling you I've got hard evidence, I said. But I'm not asking for the story. Not yet, I need a safeguard. She understood instantly. Send me a dead drop link, I'll lock it up tight. I uploaded everything we had to an encrypted vault, labeled it Red Line Protocol. If anything happened to me, she'd know where to look. That night the team grew. Word spread. More pilots joined us in back rooms and coffee shops. It wasn't a union strike. It wasn't even a protest. It was something quieter. And a lot more dangerous. We weren't rebels. Just professionals. Experienced, concerned, and tired of being quiet. Thomas was the last to arrive. You're really going through with this? He asked. I looked around the room. 10 pilots, 2 engineers, 1 reporter, and a USB drive that could bring the whole system into focus. We're not taking down the company, I said. We're just refusing to let it take us down with it. Heads nodded. This wasn't about revenge. It was about accountability. And we were only getting started. The first cancellation hit. Just before dawn, Flight 2294 to Dallas. Mason Clark was scheduled to captain it. Instead, he called in with concerns over unresolved safety issues. No one pushed back. By law, he had the right. By noon, 4 more flights were grounded for similar reasons. I sat alone in the same corner booth of that off-site cafe, watching Hawthorne's internal flight board update in real time. Refresh, delayed, canceled, canceled. It was a quiet resistance, spreading silently, one cockpit at a time. Then my phone rang. Dylan. His voice was clipped. "Jack, we need to talk." We met in one of the glass-walled briefing rooms, fluorescent lights, artificial calm, and that corporate air freshener smell that always tried too hard. He wasn't alone. Colin Hawthorne Jr., the CEO, stood near the exit, arms crossed, jaw tight. "You've made your point," he said coldly. "Whatever this is, it ends now." "This is a safety stand-down," I answered. "And it's not mine. It belongs to every pilot who's seen those logs." Dylan took a step closer. "You don't work here anymore. You don't speak for anyone." I didn't blink. I trained most of them, and I know when they're worried. Colin narrowed his eyes. "So what's your angle, Jack? You want your job back? A payout?" I stared straight at him. "I want clean aircraft in the sky. I want the records to reflect the truth, and I want whoever tampered with that data held accountable." Neither of them spoke. Then, right on, cue. The door opened. 2 FAA inspectors stepped in, badges out. Rachel made the first move, not with a headline, but with just enough noise to pull the right strings. The FAA took the bait. "We're here for a surprise audit," the inspectors announced. Full access to flight operations and maintenance logs. Dylan's face drained of color. Colin muttered something and stormed out. I didn't chase him. I walked with the agents as they began pulling records. Elena met us down the hall, holding the USB like it was loaded. By sundown, 12 more flights were grounded and 3 logs had already triggered escalation. As I passed Dylan in the corridor, he didn't speak, just stared, the look of a man who bet everything on silence and lost. But I wasn't finished. 3 weeks later, I stood on the tarmac of Apex Jet's new training facility. The morning. Sun stretched across rows of pristine white hangars. The smell of fresh paint still hung in the air. Vincent Wang, true to his word, delivered more than promises. 6 simulators, VR classrooms, a lounge that didn't smell like burnout, and vending machines. "Build it right, your way," he'd said. So I did. At exactly 9 a.m., a line of black sedans pulled into the lot. 32 pilots stepped out, flight bags slung over shoulders, uniforms traded for something less polished, more real. These were my people. Elena was the first to reach me. "Still feel like the right decision?" I nodded. "Feels like the first right decision Hawthorne never made." She grinned, then looked around. "Nice setup you've got here, Captain." "Not mine," I said. "Ours." Inside, Vincent shook every hand. No speeches, no slogans, just contracts and clean. Starts. Midway through the day, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Jack, it's Marcus DeWitt. I'm the new board chair at Hawthorne." I said nothing. "We've let Colin go. Dylan too. We'd like to talk about bringing you back in a leadership role." I looked across the hangar. One of the new Dreamliners was taxiing in, Elena in the cockpit and steady as always. "You don't need me," I said. "You need a reset. We want to do this right." I nodded slowly. I already did. That evening, I stood on the observation deck with Vincent as our new recruits arrived. "You think Hawthorne's going to recover?" he asked. I shrugged. "Maybe, if they stop trying to fake safety with spreadsheets." He smiled. "Glad you're here." "Me too." That night, I reviewed the final roster, 32 names. All once mine, now ours. No revenge, no drama, just flight plans, clean logs, and one hard lesson. Sometimes the best response isn't going back, it's building forward. And if you want more true stories that cut deep, challenge expectations, and remind us what it means to be human, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thank you for being here. And remember, your story is powerful, even if no one claps when you tell it.